بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. This inshallah ta'ala ikhwani is going to be probably the last lecture that I'll give in this masjid before the new look to the masjid is going to take place. And we hope and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that what has passed from the years that we've been coming here, all of us, from the efforts that everyone has been giving up until this point, no matter how big, no matter how small, that Allah Azza wa Jal takes those efforts and He puts them in our mawazeen of hasanat yawm al-qiyamah. And we hope that what's going to happen after the masjid, inshallah, has been given its new look, that we can look forward to what is better and what is more in terms of our efforts and in terms of the direction and in terms of the ta'thir of the masjid and the community here in Huddersfield and in our personal lives. So I've been requested to give a talk today, encouragement today, a reminder about some of the aspects and the importance of giving a sadaqah fi sabilillahi in general, and giving sadaqah and spending in the way of helping out in this project, which is the renovation of the masjid, so that it would be in a better position to accommodate the ever-growing community here. So that's what the talk is about. Generally speaking, the importance and the encouragement of a sadaqah, and also specifically giving sadaqah for this particular project that's on the table. When you make an i'lan or an announcement that the talk is going to be about a sadaqah, many times people don't want to attend that talk. If the talk was about, for an example, the Mawlid, is it from Islam or not? Many people come to something like that. If the talk is about the ahkam of a nikah or the importance of a nikah, many people will come to a talk like that. But a talk, when the Muslims see something like a sadaqah, they tend to not want to attend that class because of many reasons. There are a number of reasons. One of the reasons, especially when it's a sadaqah for a masjid, is that many people don't understand the importance of building for masajid, the importance that Al-Islam places on the shoulders of Muslims to make sure that they create for themselves an institution of worship. It is an important issue. One of the cornerstones of the da'wah that Prophet Muhammad was on, sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. And the proof of that and the indication of that is one of the very first things that he preoccupied himself with after arriving in Medina. One of the very first thing that he did, if not the first thing, is that he set off to build a masjid, which was going to serve as the focal point in the life of the Muslims. So we have certain topics these days, topics that they're put out there in order to captivate the minds and the interests of the people. Many people come for that topic. Like this is the month of February, and in the month of February we have the non-Muslim celebration of Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day. I was invited to go to a university, one of the few that would still have me, and the people at the university, they called the topic Cupid or Stupid. So when you hear that, when the young person sees that topic, it sparks an interest in his mind. I'm going to go and I'm going to listen to that talk. But if you give the talk like this, as I mentioned, many people won't come. Although as I mentioned, this is one of the most important aspects of the dawah that the Nabi was upon, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam. And there was a great scholar that we've mentioned his name a number of times in this masjid, and it's someone that the regular ordinary Muslim should have heard his name, know something about him, like we know Al-Bukhari, Al-Imam Ahmed, Al-Imam Malik, Abu Hanifa. We heard those names. But there's a great scholar who was just as great as them, if not bigger. His name is Sufyan al-Thawri. Sufyan al-Thawri. He was one of the ulama of Al-Hadith, a scholar of Hadith, a scholar of Fiqh, a scholar of Tawheed. He said it was from the guidance of the Salaf. It was from the guidance of the Salaf. Three things. And all three of those things they have to deal with, and they're connected with the Jama'at, keeping the Muslims together. He said what the Salaf used to take care of is they used to stick with the Imam. The community would stick with the Imam. He said number two, they used to make al-jihad collectively for the preservation of al-Islam. And number three, and that's the point here today, is that the Salaf used to pay attention to building masajid for themselves, for their ibadah, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this issue is an important issue in the deen of Allah. The issue of sadaqah in general, and the issue of people in a particular locale, if they have a masjid or they need to build a masjid or they need to take care of the masjid, for the Muslim not to hesitate in getting involved in that tremendous race, that particular musabaqah. In terms of this thing about spending, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam taught us a comprehensive lesson in terms of the importance of the spending and the reality of it, because the reality of things have been turned upside down a lot of times. Our mother Aisha radiyallahu anha wa ardaha, someone came to her house and gave to her some meat, a whole camel, a whole sheep, the whole sheep. And as a gift, she, radiallahu anha, was a woman who was generous. She was generous. She gave most of the sheep out to the people who came and they were in need, from the fuqara and from her relatives. But she was sure to keep behind the shoulder of the sheep. And she didn't give the meat of the shoulder. That's all she kept from the sheep. The reason why she kept that behind is because she knew that her husband, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam, he loved that part of the meat of the sheep more than any other part. So being a good wife, she knew the likes and the dislikes of her husband, and she tried to come towards the likes and to avoid the dislikes. When the Nabi came home, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he asked her what happened today. She informed him, Ya Rasulullah, someone gave us the sheep. He said, what did you do with the sheep? She said, I gave it all away. Nothing remains of the sheep. Nothing remains except the shoulder. That's all that I kept. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught her, and he taught us about this point in the sadaqah. He said, La aish bal dhahaba kullu shay aw baqiya kullu shay ila al-katif. He said everything went away. He said about that sheep, unlike what she said, all of the sheep went away except the shoulder. He said, no, it's not like that. He said everything stays behind from that sheep. Everything that you gave fi sabilillah to those people, you're going to see that Yawmul Qiyamah. The only thing that you won't see Yawmul Qiyamah is the shoulder that you left behind. Because the shoulder, you're going to eat it, and after you eat it, you're going to digest it, and then you're going to get rid of it. That hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ikhwani, it teaches us in al-Islam the giving is unlike what many people think. If you were to give, then as a result of giving, your money is going to be decreased or depleted. The Nabi gave a nas sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith and in other hadith that that's not the case in our religion. He told the people salawatullahi wassalamu alayhi, ma naqasa malun qat min sadaqatin. Never did a person's money decrease as a result of giving sadaqah. Never. As a result of that, those companions radiyallahu anhum, they were diligent and they were expedient in trying to give from what little that they had. Some of the poor companions, like Bilal ibn Rabah, who for some time, may Allah Ta'ala be pleased with him, for quite a period of time. In the beginning of Al-Islam, after the Hijrah, he didn't have any money, so he had to live in the masjid along with a lot of the other ulama from the companions and the awliya from the companions from the Ahl Sufa. The Nabi told Bilal, who didn't have any money really, he told him, Bilal, spend from what you do have, and Allah will increase your sustenance. So again, another understanding that we have in the religion of Islam that's different from the understanding that many people have is that when you give in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal, your giving is going to come back to you, and it's one of the ways of increasing an individual's monies. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, concerning even the money that we have in our pockets, the money that we have, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explained to us the reason why Allah gave us the money that we have. He says, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, in an authentic hadith, inna anzalna al-mal li-iqam as-salat wa ita az-zakat. The reason why Allah revealed and sent down to you the money that you have, the Nabi said, the reason why Allah gave you the money is for you to establish the salat and for you to give the zakat. That doesn't mean that an individual, he can't enjoy the good things of life and he doesn't take care of his family and he's negligent and he gives all of his money. It doesn't mean that. But it means the primary goal and the primary objective of the money is to utilize the money again so that you'll see and get that which is going to benefit you in the future. So obviously, if a person is understanding why he was created, we've been created to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, then clearly he's going to buy his clothes to cover up his aura. He's going to eat food so that he'll have the strength to work, and he'll have the strength also to come to the masjid and to do the other ibadat of al-Islam. So the money that we have been given, the goal and the objective of the money is not to hang on to it and not to hoard it. And again, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't leave anything in our religion unturned. Everything has been explained in our religion. Everything. He told the people, and this is the case with many people about the money that we have. He said, Ta'isa abdul dinar wa ta'isa abdul dirham. The individual who he worships the money, he worships the dinar, the dirham, the pound, the dollar, he's lost. He's wretched. He's an individual who he lost the plot. He's not quite understanding the goal and the objective of the money in Islam is not just to accumulate it, and it's not just to have a good time. Although that is something that is permissible in the deen of Allah. If Allah bless someone with something, he loves to see the effect and the impact of what he blessed you with on his slave. So Islam is not calling people to be paupers. It's not calling people to forsake the dunya in its totality. Islam is telling us to manage the situation in a balanced way. And at the top of the list, in terms of sacrifices, then the sacrifice that the Muslims have to make collectively in their masjid is something that is imperative. Some man, he came to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he asked him a question he didn't know the answer to. He asked him, what is the most beloved places to Allah? Here in this dunya, what is the most beloved places to Allah? The Nabi didn't answer. He said, Allah knows best. When Jibril came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked Jibril. Jibril said, Allah knows best. Jibril went back to Allah Azza wa Jal and he asked Allah the question, Allah Ta'ala told Jibril, the most beloved places to me in the earth are the masajid. And the most detestable and hated places to me in the earth are the marketplaces. Jibril came back to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he told him that Allah Ta'ala said, as you were asking me, inna ahabbal biladi ilallahi masajiduha. The most beloved places to Allah are the masajid. Not your home, not my home, not the mustashfa. The most beloved place to Allah Azza wa Jal are the masajid. So from the benefits of the hadith that we can't allow to pass us by, from the benefits, because it's clear why I'm using the hadith about this talk, but from the benefits that we can't allow to pass us by, is this is one of the many hadith, al-hadith, ma'ashar al-muslimin. This is from the clear hadith that show the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not know the ilm al-ghayb. Jibril did not know the ilm al-ghayb. From the benefits of the hadith, and what I'm using it for is clear about building masajid for Allah because they're the most beloved places to Allah. But from the benefits that we can't allow to pass us by is the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who was the Sayyid of Bani Adam. He's al-Mustafa, he's al-Mukhtar, Mujtaba. He's going to be in the Jannat al-Firdaus. He's the A'lam Wahid from Bani Adam. He's just knowledgeable. And yet, when he was asked a question that he didn't know the answer to, he didn't try to talk about what he didn't know. He didn't talk about what he didn't know. Nor did Jibril talk about what he didn't know. So that's a page and a lesson, a tremendous lesson. But what we want to use that hadith, as I mentioned, for here today is, as Muslims, once we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves the masjid, no matter how big, how small. If Allah Azza wa Jalla loves the masjid, and the masjid is called the house of Allah, it's the responsibility of the Muslim to do something about building those masjids, maintaining those masjids, taking care of those masjids, facilitating those masjids, coming to the call and answering the call when the call is made. As Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in the Quran, if Allah and His Messenger invite you to do something, then answer the call. Then answer the call to that which will give you life. And Allah Azza wa Jalla has invited us, ikhwani, as well as His Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a number of hadith that we make it our business to try to take care of, giving sadaqah in general, but especially in issues like this. He says sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, man bana masjidin la yabtaghi, man bana masjidin yabtaghi bihi wajh Allah, bana Allahu lahu baytan fil jannah. And I think this is what the poster was calling the talk today. The hadith said anyone who builds a masjid for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah will build for him a house in the Jannah. This hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has a lot of different additional statements to it. It mentioned anyone who builds a masjid with ikhlas. He's building the masjid not so that it would be said that he built it and he's building it, not so that he will be the one who calls all of the shots and he will run it. It's the masjid of Allah. Ikhwani, the masajid in al-Islam, they have a responsibility. The masjids, they belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't belong to the elders. Only what pleases the elders is what's going to go on and what's going to happen. They belong to the khatib or the da'i in the masjid, the sheikh in the masjid. Doesn't belong to him. The masjid shouldn't be an instrument and a tool that's used to divide the Muslims, to play politics. The masjid is not for that. The masajid, they are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As He mentioned in the Quran, in the masajid lillah. Those masajid, they belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, encouraging the people, ikhwani, he said, anyone who comes forward and he builds a masjid for Allah with ikhlas, Allah will build for him a bayt or a house in Jannah. Another aspect of that narration is that he says sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, even if the person were to build a small masjid the size of the nest of a bird. Some of our masajid that I've seen that were built in Indonesia by some of the rich people of Kuwait. A lady from Kuwait, she gave 500,000 dinar to an organization to build half of that money in Indonesia, the other half in Africa. The masajid that I saw in Indonesia and in Africa that were deep in the jungle and deep where the people are cut off from civilization, they were simple and easy, just masjids made out of hay, and the top was made out of just regular bark from the trees. The one who built that masjid, that thing in Al-Jannah is going to be something that that person, if they do go to Jannah, may Allah Azza wa Jal put us all in Jannah without any adhab or hisab. With Allah Azza wa Jal, it's a big issue. So those companions, if you remember, those companions, the masjid of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was simple and it was easy. It was simple. They didn't have carpet. If it rained and he made sajda, he would come up from sajda and you could see the dirt on his head. They had rocks in the masjid. When it used to get hot, he used to delay Salat al-Dhuhr because the masjid was exposed in certain parts, so the ground was extremely hot. So he taught the Muslims it's permissible to delay Salat al-Dhuhr, for an example, until the sun settles down a little bit. His masjid was simple, but inside of the masjid, there was a tawheed. Inside of the masjid, there were men who took the dawah of al-Islam till it reached the four corners of the universe. So the point here, and the goal and the objective here is, our concern should not be, let's build a big, beautiful masjid, because that in and of itself is from the ashrat, or the signs of the hour. The goal and the objective is to build a masjid in which we're going to be able to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, and in which the message or the risala of al-Islam is going to spread forth to our family members and the people of this community. And other than that, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, concerning this issue of taking care of the masajid and building masajid and spending in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal, one time some money came from Al-Bahrain, in which the Muslims collected the money from the people who had to pay jizya from there, and some other monies and wealth that was gathered in that area. And it came, the Muslims heard all of the noise that came as a result of the treasures that were brought from Al-Bahrain. So they rushed to the masjid because they were poor. Most of them were poor. And this was at a critical time after they moved from Mecca to Medina, and they wanted money. They knew that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had love for them. He was generous. So everybody came looking to receive from the Nabi some money from what came from the spoils of war from Al-Bahrain and what was gathered from the people who spent in the jizya in that area. The Nabi asked those people, are you people like concerned and serious like that because you want the money? No one answered out of shyness, because they figured he wasn't really happy with the desire that they wanted for money. He told those people, Wallahi, mal faqra akhsha alaykum. I swear by Allah, I'm not afraid that you people will be impoverished. I'm not afraid that you're going to be faqir. Because the faqir, the miskeen, many times the poor one, he has nobody but Allah. So as a result of that, he looks up to Allah and he relies on Allah. He doesn't rely on his money, doesn't rely on his jah, doesn't rely on the wasata, he just relies on Allah. He said, I swear I'm not afraid that you people are going to be impoverished. He said, وَلَكِنِّي أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ أَن تُبْسِطَ عَلَيْكُمُ الدُّنْيَا كَمَا بُسِطَ عَلَى مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ فَتَنَافَسُوهَا كَمَا تَنَافَسُوهَا وَتُهْلِكُكُمْ كَمَا أَهْلَكَتْهُمْ. He said, the thing that I'm afraid of for this ummah more than anything else is that the dunya will be opened up to you, and that you will accumulate the dunya the way that it was opened up for the people who went before you, the Jews and the Christians. And you will race and compete to gather up the dunya the way they raced and they competed in gathering up the dunya, and it will destroy you the way it destroyed them. So the point here is, one of the best ways, ikhwani, to escape the fitna of being responsible for accumulating the money and not using it properly, one of the best ways to purify your wealth and to make tazkiyah of yourself is to give money to the masjid. And not only, ikhwani, is giving the money to the masjid and for the masjid, not only is that an issue in and of itself, something that is virtuous and superior in this religion, but only Allah knows. Only Allah knows. One of the things we always tell the younger brothers in our masajid, the 40-something branches of Ahlul Hadith here in this country or wherever we go. We had some elders who came to this country before us. And one of the things that the elders did was they purchased these properties and they started building these masjids. There are a number of those elders, the original people, all up and down this country who have died. All across this country. They dead. But they had something to do with the masjid. Some of them didn't have any knowledge about the religion. They weren't the most knowledgeable people, rahimahumullah. They didn't have a lot of knowledge. But today, the Taraweeh, that people come and pray, and people make tawbah, and the different issues that are going on in the masjid that we don't have any idea. Only Allah knows the reality of all of that. Those people who started that stuff, those people who had something to do with the initial idea and put it into effect, all of that will be in the scale of the hasanat of those individuals, provided they did it the right way and they did it with ikhlas. And that's because the one who guides and encourages people to do good, he's going to get the good of everybody who has something to do with that. So this masjid alone, any and everything of khair that transpired in this masjid, those first elders who had something to do with this masjid, whoever it happened to be, they're going to get the reward of all of that. If that isn't in and of itself enough encouragement, in and of itself, for a Muslim to say to himself, this is a project and this is a mashru' that I would like to be a part of, while I'm sleeping on my bed, turning back and forth, I'm getting the rewards that I don't even know what's going on. After I die, I'm getting rewards. I don't even know what's going on. And that's why the Nabi said in another hadith, similar to the one that we mentioned earlier, and he mentioned a number of things in that hadith. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, inna mimma yalhaqul mu'min min amilihi wa hasanatihi min ba'di mawtihi. From the things that will catch up to the believer from his actions and his good deeds after he died, he went on to mention a number of things. Ilman allamahu wa nasharahu. The person who gave some knowledge and he spread that knowledge, like the knowledge of those 4 imams in al-Islam, like the knowledge of the companions, like the knowledge that came from the Nabi originally, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second thing the Nabi mentioned was he leaves behind a son, and the son obviously is a righteous son. The third thing that he mentioned is he leaves behind a mushaf as a bequeathal. So this hadith is the hadith that many people, they say, okay, I'm going to buy some mushafs and I'm going to take them to Mecca. I wouldn't advise you to take them to Mecca. Don't take your mushaf to Mecca and put it in the masjid. Anyone who reads that mushaf, you'll get the reward of it. But Mecca has a lot of masahif. You send some masahif, the Qur'an's mushafs, you send them to Kashmir, and you send them to Africa, and you send them to other places. In this masjid, if you want to bring some Qur'ans and to put the mushaf in this masjid, this hadith is applicable. That's the dalil for that hadith. But again, I say, it's not hikmah to take one Qur'an to Mecca and you put the Qur'an in Mecca. You'll get the reward for that. But is that the place where you're going to get the majority of the reward? And then the fourth thing, and this is the point, is that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, after the individual dies, he'll continue to get reward if he were to build a masjid. And the meaning of that is what I mentioned to you earlier. After the individual has died and he checked out, everyone who utilizes that masjid, everyone who gets any benefit in that masjid, the nikah that took place in that masjid, he has something to do with facilitating the place. Whatever comes from the khair of that nikah, anything you can think of, the sky is the limit, provided it is legislated and provided the people did the thing with the correct niyyah and the correct intention. So the call here, again, ikhwani, is not to beg anyone. In our masjid in Birmingham, in Green Lane, in Ramadan, our administration, they always ask me, I'm giving talks throughout Ramadan. I have my days in which I give my talks. After the Taraweeh, on the 27th, they want me to get up and ask the people for money. I say, I'm not doing that. Why we only wait for the 27th? It has to be Laylatul Qadr. I'm not going to do it on that day. But the other thing is, I don't feel comfortable with that thing about feeling like I'm begging. This is not an issue of begging. This is an issue of pleading with the Muslims to say, hey, spending for the masjid in the cause of Allah benefits you before it benefits anyone else. Spending in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal for the masjid is a proof and a dalil of a person's faith in Allah. إِنَّمَا يَعْمُرُ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Those people, verily those people who take care of the masajid, they build the masjids, they maintain the masjids, they're the custodians of the masjid, they're the people who believe in Allah, they're the people who believe in the last day. In Mecca, those kuffar Quraysh, as you all know, they used to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, and they used to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. They worshipped Him with salat and different kinds of things, but it wasn't accepted by Allah. One of the ibadahs that they used to do was, they used to take care of the Masjid al-Haram. Al-Masjid al-Haram. It was a big thing for them to clean it, for them to put over it the cover of the masjid. They maintained it. And the pilgrims who came, they used to feed them, they used to house them. Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed those ayahs in the Quran to say, La. ما كان للمشركين يعملوا مساجد الله شاهدين على أنفسهم بالكفر. It's not acceptable for people of shirk, polytheism. It's not acceptable for them to take care of the masajid of Allah. They're not qualified to be the ones. The masjid is for the dhikr of Allah and the tawheed and the ibadah of Allah and the salah. It's a masjid, the place of a sajda, the worship of Allah. Those people, what they're doing is counterproductive. He said that those people who believe in Allah are the ones who are responsible for the masjid. So this is not an issue of begging. This is an issue of reminding everybody here. In taking care of the masjid is one of the manifestations and one of the proofs that an individual, he does have that iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also he has that thing about his priorities correctly. In the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, anyone who wants to know what Allah ta'ala has in store for him, then let him look and let him consider what Allah Azza wa Jal, or the position that Allah has with him. من أراد أن يعلم ما له عند الله فلينظر ما لله عنده. Anyone who wants to know his position with Allah, his manzila, where he is with Allah, then let him just look, where is Allah with you? So I say, if this is the house of Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal has the ability to make some miracle and to build the masjid out of nothing. He has that ability, no doubt about it. But He made it our responsibility, our responsibility. So the call, the plead, the dhikr, the remembrance, the reminder is that the people come forward and they spend out of what Allah Azza wa Jal has provided you with, hoping, inshallah ta'ala, again, that the masjid is going to be an institution by which our children are going to have a place where they'll be able to learn their religion, and we, adults, will have a place where we're able to practice an aspect of al-Islam that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam placed a lot of emphasis on. Those companions and the Salaf, they used to, when it came to the issue of the masjid, it was the focal point of the community. You wanted to borrow money from people, or you wanted to pay the debt back, the man would say, meet me at the masjid. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in his masjid, they used to do it at the mimbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They would do it at his mimbar, making a sort of a tabarruk, and also to make the ta'zeem of the issue that we're agreeing to. I'm going to give you your money back. I'm going to borrow the money. You're going to pay back. We're going to make the condition. It's not buying and selling, doing it at the Prophet's masjid. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if he wanted to send out the warriors for jihad, they did that from the masjid. Everything was from the masjid with the exception of a few things. Don't do the hudud in the masjid because the masjid is not for that. Don't buy and sell in the masjid because the masjid is not for that. If you lose something, don't walk around inside of the masjid screaming, I lost this, I lost that, because the masjid is not for that. In those books of fiqh, those books of hadith, there's always the chapter about the adab of the masjid, ahkam about this issue. So it just goes to show the importance of the masjid in the dawah, in the life of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if we're the people of Ahlul Hadith, then again, if we're Muslims, then this masjid, we have to look at it the way that those people used to look at it in the past. Radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. Yesterday, I gave the khutbah in a city not too far from Luton. And the community is diverse. Somalis, people from Tanzania, Asians, Sudanese, reverse, black and white, Arabs from Morocco, Algeria, they're diverse. And the administration of the masjid is not moving at all. The point that I want to make is, the administration of the masjid, the people who are running the masjid, they have no idea about the reality of the masjid. They don't pray in the masjid. They don't come to the masjid. Only if there's a meeting do they come to the masjid. This is not the way that the masjid was in the life and the understanding of the people of the past. The masjid was the focal point of the Muslim community. Now we're living in Europe, so we're not going to expect, it's not our reality. This is Europe, it's not our reality. But we have to have some connection to the masjid. Some people, because of their job, their lifestyle, they want to be connected more, but the only thing that they can do is they can come on Friday. For an example, there's another guy, he could come for Fajr, and he could come for Isha, and he could come for Friday. Everybody is different. But the point is, whatever the case happens to be, right now, we have an opportunity to be connected to the masjid in that I gave money in order to support the program, and I'll continue to give money in order to support the program. But don't be one of the people. Let not any of us be that individual who he has no connection to the masjid at all. So how is it possible that I can be on the administration? I'm an administrator, me, and I don't come to the masjid at all. What is my concept? Where does that that is something that is gharib in al-Islam. Gharib, ajib in al-Islam. How is it possible the one who is the mudir, he has nothing to do with the masjid? Every Muslim should be connected to the masjid if he happens to be a man. So ikhwani, again, the call, the encouragement, the plead, not the begging, the plead. The plead is, our masjid now, I know that a lot of people, they have given over the years, but still there's a lot of work to be done. And that's just the nature of living in this dunya. We have a lot of our own responsibilities to do, but still, it doesn't negate the fact that this is something that is a project that is worth our while and worth our effort. So therefore, we encourage you and we ask you to be generous in doing whatever it is you have within your ability to do. And that's all we're asking. Whatever you have in your ability to come forward, inshallah ta'ala, with that ability, and to donate or to help in the way that Allah Azza wa Jal has put you in a position to do.